Hello guys, welcome to the fourth part of Vray Studio Lighting tutorial series created by www.renderray.com. After finishing the modelization of the studio, test render settings and HDRI lighting setup, we will work on the Vray physical cameras, and for our upcoming lessons, we will work on the Vray materials and final render setup to make a realistic and professional render. With renderray.com, all these 3D scenes are free. If you would like to, you can download these professional 3D scenes prepared with Vray, Brazil, Mental Ray, Final Render, etc. Just go to renderray.com and download free. And nearly every day RenderRay adds more and more free 3D scenes and tutorials to their website. To download the sample scene for this tutorial or to watch this video tutorial with high resolution, go to www.renderray.com. It's free. Let's turn back to my tutorial. Here in this lesson I will show and explain you the usage and the setup of Vray physical cameras. Vray physical camera is a reproduction of a photographic camera with a max that simulates the real-world camera settings. Open RenderRay downloads Vray Studio Lighting Part 4 Start that you downloaded from www.renderray.com. For the new users of Vray, you can find Vray physical cameras under Create, Cameras, and in the drop-down menu, Vray, and as you see, Vray physical cameras. Click here. Okay, now in the top view, click somewhere here that you want to create your camera and drag the camera target onto our object, and right click. That's it, now our physical camera is created. Let's adjust a good angle in the camera view. To do that, in the corner of the perspective view, right click and choose Vray physical camera, and adjust your camera by using these little icons to dolly, field of view, track, and orbit the camera. Okay, so let me arrange the angle. Okay, no, it's not so much bad. Okay, let's check our camera parameters. As you see, we have a lot of control for the cameras, so let me explain a little about these settings. Here under the type, you can select what kind of camera you would like to use. You can use a still cam, movie cam, or a video cam. By default, it's a still cam. I will show the other type of cameras in our future tutorials. Targeted indicates if our camera is fixed or targeted. For example, I will select the target. To do that, right click and click Select Camera Target. There we go. It's our target, and if you move it, the camera will not move but pivot it in its place to follow the target, as you see in our camera view. Okay, let's select our camera. Click right click and select camera. There we go. Okay, let's uncheck the target. Now, when you move the camera, our target moves in the same time. For this tutorial, I will recheck the targeted. Okay, the film gate. Imagine the film gate like a binocular. If you look into an object with the other side of binocular, you can see the object real small and distorted. Otherwise, you can see it bigger. Okay, let me hide this fully. You see the target gate becomes bigger and how the image gets smaller. For this tutorial, I will turn back to 35 again. Okay. Focal length is the focus, as you see. As a matter of fact, there is not a lot of difference between film gate and zoom factor visually if you do not use the depth of field effects. F number is the exposure control of our camera. By default, it's 8. Higher values make the rendered image darker and lower values make the image brighter. In addition, to create some nice depth of field effects, this parameter is really important. Let's make a render with 8. Click render. As you see, it's so much dark, so let me lower the value to 2 and click render. As you see, it's much more brighter. Distortion. Distortion distorts the camera to have convex and concave effects. Play with the distortion type and the distortion parameters to exaggerate the perspective. For example, something like this. Okay, let me turn back. Okay. Vertical shift distorts the camera in a vertical angle. Like this. Okay. Specify focus and focus distance is to indicate the focus of depth of field effects that I will explain for our future tutorials. Exposure activates the exposure control. For instance, if you deactivate exposure, some parameters like f number will not work. Vignetting makes the corners a little darker like in the real life cameras. Let me uncheck and make the render. Now, you see the difference. Without vignetting, it's much more lighter with really less realism. Okay, white balance is to modify the color of the rendered image. For example, in our render, if you have a lot of light orange colors, if we assign orange as a color as white balance, when we re-render our image, you will see that the orange parts become whiter. Okay, shutter speed. Shutter speed is the exposure time for our camera. Use these settings when you like to use a motion blur effect. I will turn back to this topic in our following tutorials. Film speed. ISO is the sensitivity of the film. Higher values make our image brighter and lower values make it darker. I will show you the usage of bokeh effects in our future tutorials. Sampling. Sampling is to create depth of field and motion blur effects. Okay, I will explain these effects briefly in our upcoming tutorials. Okay, now some fine tuning. Go back to f number and enter 6 as a parameter because I do not want the rendered image super light. There we go. It will be a little noisier as a final image, but we are going to get rid of that in our next tutorials. Go to film speed, ISO, and enter 400. Okay, now hit enter. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now I will say this scene as Render downloads Vray Studio Lighting Part 4 finish. Next step, we will work on Vray materials and explain some of its settings. So see you for our next tutorial. Bye.